Hello, my royalty, Israelite kings and queens. Let us get started learning about Og the giant, alright? The traditions of the Jews, us Israelites, tells us slash them that Shinar, king of the Amorites, and Og, the king of the Hashem, were brethren. That Og the giant was born before the losing, that his father was angel Shemichael, and the giants were the prosperity of the fallen angels. No, Og says, the Talmud perished not in the flood. So in other words, Og did not perish in the flood, my people, okay? But rode up on the ark and was as a covering thereof. And he was fed with the provisions which Noah gave him. For Noah bored a hole in the side of the ark and handed out to him his daily food, to with 1,000 oxen, 1,000 of every kind of game, and the same number of measure of liquid for to drink. That is what Noah fed to Og, all right? And this did Noah give Og, and Og consented to be the servant of Noah and his children after him. This very much tends to increase our notion of the capacity of the ark and the predigious bulk of Oz. We find Oz pursuing his agreement and acting in his capacity of servant to the descendants of Noah with signable fidelity for some ages. So for a very long time, my people, okay? And Elazar, and that's the name that was given to him by Abraham, okay? Abraham changed Ar's name from Ar to Elazar. The servant of Abraham was, we are told, the same species as to his size. The Talmud writers very much different. One tells us that the sole of his feet, Ar's feet, were 40 miles long, and he hid Abraham in the hollow of his hand. And it come to pass that when Abraham did one day rebuke Ar, that Ar greatly trembled, and by reason of his exceeding fear, a tooth fell out of Ar's head. So Ar lost one of his teeth, okay? He was so afraid of Abraham. So Abraham made an easy chair of the tooth and sat thereon all the days of his life. Ar had been the servant of Nimrod, and Nimrod gave him to Abraham. So you see, Nimrod gave him to Abraham, my people. And he, which is Nimrod, attained his liberty and the kingdom of Bashan from the latter. So Abraham gave Nimrod his liberty in the kingdom of the giant of Oz, which is Bashan. All right? Up on the following occasion, when Eleazar, that is Oz, came into Mesopotamia to Beldo, being sent by Abraham on account of Rebekah, which is Abraham's wife, okay? Laban seeing the earrings and being moved by covetousness did mean to slay Eleazar, who is Oz the giant. But he, by means of the holy word Shem HaMeroz, raised the camels into the air and stood upon the camel. So Laban saw his face beaming with brightness, and thought it was Abraham. So he said, Come in, thou blessed of the Lord our father endless. Now still he meant to poison Eleazar, in as much as he dared not fight hand to hand with him. For Laban saw Eleazar take the cameras in his hand and carry them over the river. So he was afraid. All right, go sit your ass down, Laban, with your no good ass. But when the dish in which the poisoned food was placed before Eleazar, God, our father endless, through love to Abraham, changed it to food. He took the poison out of the food, my people, okay? He made it good for Eleazar to eat. So Eleazar escaped it. But through all did eat thereof and died. So Betharuth ate that mess and he died. And that's what he did. He was a wicked old piece of thing anyway. Eleazar therefore satisfactorily performed his mission, and his reward was freedom and a kingdom. He now resumed his old name, which was odd, and with it his hatred of the people of God, our Father, endless. He hated us, my people. He hated us Israelites, okay? And he resumed hating us after his after he did what he was supposed to do for Abraham, okay? During the war which the Israelites waged with the Canaanites, a war of extermination, Oz was one of those who made the most desperate resistance. And we are told, as a matter of history, of his great size. Eleazar's what followed is not quite accordance with the dimensions of his noted giant, as preserved it in the holy writings, still less, however, with the outrageous proportions which I before stated, when, say, one of the Talmud treatises, the children of Israel pitched their camp before the city of Edrei. Okay, so they pitched a tent before the city of Edrei. All right, my people? Moses said, Tomorrow will we enter the city, and the next day, before it was well lit, before the people came near into the city, Moses opened his eyes and beheld Oz sitting on the walls of the city. So Moses wist not what it was. And he said, So now the people have built a new wall in one night. But the Lord our father endless said to Moses, It is Oz whom thou seest, and his feet are 18 elas in length. So Oz went forth and built 60 cities, and the smallest of them was 60 miles high. This remnant of the Antediluvian Nephian was, however, now approaching the termination of his career. His odds opposition to the Israelites, us, my royalty family, us Israelites, was doomed to be fatal to himself. One of the Talmud treaties favored us with the following accounts of Oz in his death. He inquired of what was the camp of Israelites. What was the camp of the Israelites? And being told 6 miles, he resolved to tear up a rock of equal dimension and cast it upon the Israelite camp. So he went and plucked up a rock of 6 miles extent and put the same on his head. But God our Father endless caused the ants to come upon it, and the ants made a hole in it, so that it fell about his neck. for the hole was directly over his head. And when he tried to remove it, the Lord our Father endless caused his teeth to grow into it, so that he, Oz, could not disengage his net. So when Moses saw him, Oz, the incumbent, he took an axe, whereof the handle was 10 ells high, and jumped 10 ells high in the air. And then, since Moses was 10 ells in stature, he could reach 30 ells high when he jumped, okay? So he struck Oz on the ankle, my people, on his ankle bone, all right? He struck Oz on his ankle bone that he died. So Abraham killed Oz. That's the way he killed Oz. He struck him on his ankle bone, all right, my people? After this, we shall be prepared for the story of the hunter, who, according to the treaty Nifadai, once pursued a buck into the shiny bone of a man. The hunter continued the chase for 3 miles up the bone, and then, not being able either to catch the buck or to see the end of the bone, returned it disappointed. So he was disappointed he couldn't kill that deer, all right, that buck. Can we wonder that this turned out to have been one of the legs of Oz, king of Bashan? We pass over the stories which are told of many other individuals because they are merely at measurements of monstrous animals and accounts of incredible feats of strength. So there are all kinds of stories throughout our Bible and all our books, my people, okay? And we had some powerful people. We still got some powerful people, all right? Now, where was I? All right. Set off with such... All right, let me go back here. At measurements of monstrous animals and accounts of incredible feats of strength. Set off with such particulars as this, when oh my goodness, when Samson shook himself, his hair shattered together, and the sound was heard from Dan to Beersheba. So when he shook his hair, you could hear his hair shaking from Dan to Beersheba, my people. That's some power right there in itself, okay? Now, and the sound was heard from Dan to Beersheba. We pass over these. We merely may state that it requires no genius to invent fiction of this kind. Unicorns 100 miles high. Unicorns 100 miles high. Oh my goodness. On the horns of one of which David was lifted up to heaven. So David was on the horn of a unicorn, and he was lifted up to heaven, my people, all right? Men with feet 40 miles long. Can you imagine having some feet 40 miles long? And cities 60 miles high, or not objectives of which in the present day. So in other words, in the present day right now, we would be lost in some cities like that with our little tiny asses, all right? But back in the day, oh my goodness, can you imagine what that looked like, my people? All right, well, imagine it real well, because I'm sure we're going right back there. Men with feet 40 miles long and cities 60 miles high are not objectives of which in the present day. It will be necessary to relate all the adventures Okay, so you're going to have to relate all the adventures to their own time, my people, okay? You can't relate it to this time, because this time is a little wimpy time, okay? Look at these little wimpy people running around here, but we're about to get back on top, all right? Peace and blessings.